Hi, welcome to Far From Eden. Women today, you guys, women today. One of the things that bothers me a lot about the women today is when they think they're wife material. You guys know what I'm talking about? The ones that think they're like, oh, I'm happy to let him provide. I'm happy to get in my feminine, whatever that means, and allow him to provide for me. This is usually, I'm sure you've seen these women on Kevin Samuels all the time. And it's always contingent on as long, I can follow him as long as he doesn't lose his job, as long as he does everything I want him to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Not only that, and here's the big part that I want to talk about today. And I think this video that we're going to watch is going to, show a little bit of this. It's when they think that being a wife that the man provides for means soft life. That is not what being a real wife is. You need to homeschool your children. You need to keep the house clean yourself. You need to make all the meals healthy and from scratch. See where I'm going with this? You need to have a garden. Hopefully, if you're, in a rural-ish area or even a suburban area, you can have a garden. If it's rural, you can have chickens. If it's urban, you can have an herb garden in your kitchen. There's so many things you can do as a wife. You need to take care of your husband. You need to serve him. He is working hard. You need to make that a priority. And part of serving him is being pleasant, especially when he comes home from work. Greet him with a smile, not, all the things that you have on his list, because that's just it. As a wife, that's just not what you do. So I'm tired because I actually went to the barn this morning, and usually that would lay me out. But Man Reacts released a video, and after I saw the girl from Fresh and Fit on one of his videos that we did yesterday, and I kind of lit into her for her fake crying and all the women around who were giving her fake sympathy. It was quite the performance. I'm ready to get a little naughty and maybe lay into some of these women that we're going to see today. So as you can see, hey, I'm tired. I already have the video queued up. Look at that. I'm ahead of myself. A lot of times I just start with me as a solo, but hey, if this is not your first time, welcome. This is how we roll. Anyway, without further ado, let's see what these women have to say for themselves. I saw a teeny tiny bit the first few seconds, and I was like, yes, so much material here. They make it so easy, don't they? These women. I mean, give me a hard one, ladies. Make it difficult.
Modern women are definitely not wife material, and they know it.
Yeah, so I would offer that in a very productive marriage, there is no I versus, it's just we. Like, I am in a partnership, a team, me and my husband. The concept of putting me first, even saying that just sounds so crazy to me in a marriage. Like, I've never thought it once. It's just, it's us, it's the kids, it's our family. Like, I becomes we.
What if your husband, Candace, and I like Candace, I like her, but I'm always going to, I've got a very strong sense of how it should be. And a lot of times we have these, conservative women who really act a lot like feminists. They're still out there doing the man thing. So what I was going to say, and this I could be, who knows? This is just a rhetorical question. What would Candace do if her husband said, no, we're going to move here. I don't want you to work. I don't want you to do what you do for a living anymore. I think you're spending too much time doing that. I just wonder what she would say. And a lot of women will come back with, well, if he loved me, he'd never say that. Or my man would never say that. The man I'm going to marry would never ask that of me. Like, the man I'm going to marry would never ask me to get rid of my Instagram, right? If he loves you, he would protect you from having an Instagram. Anyway, I digress. So I realize that Candace is actually the good guy in this situation. And we need that. We need the ones that aren't all the way to where I think like you should be homeschooling and da-da-da-da-da. Like, I get it. I live in fairy tale land with that. I understand how far we are from that. Although I do know women who do that, married women who actually do that and have done that. Candace, she's not quite all the way there, but she's obviously much better than most of what's out there. So we need the pretty good women to school the bad women. We even need the bad women to school the really bad women, because the women have to call out the other women. They're not going to listen to men. They are programmed not to. They are programmed to be like, oppression, oppression, oppression. Oh no, we women are the ones that have to do it. And they don't want to listen to us either a lot of times. But sometimes if it's one-on-one, you'll see your opportunities. So I'm happy that Candace can get this word out to the ones who are way off the deep end. Because she's right. There is no I. It's like there is no I in team. I really think we've forgotten that as a culture in the West. Everything is just, everybody's out for themselves. And understanding that a lot of times when it's we, it means it's the other person. You must prioritize them because they're going to need it just like you're going to need it. You can't be just out for yourself. It just doesn't work. But I can hear you guys now like, yeah, well, good luck finding that, because women all are. And they've been raised to think that's empowerment, to think that that's leadership skills and all the rest of it. They are celebrated almost for that kind of an approach to life, which is terrible because it doesn't serve us at all. It turns us into narcissistic monsters. Anyway, let's continue.
And so I would just say, like, maybe when you put that out there to a guy, like I, then they say, okay, maybe this isn't marriage material because she's telling me that even if I give her everything and I have the potential, then the risk of losing everything, that she still would not make any sacrifices in her life. And
I can agree with what you're saying. I can agree with your statements. But what I'm saying is I haven't came across a traditional man like that as of now. So I'm going to focus on myself.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to highlight that it's a specific kind of man that you're talking about. Yes. If a guy doesn't want to get married, but also fair, if you're saying the same thing.
Women who
Sorry, she hasn't come across that. She hasn't came across that kind of man. Yeah, you're not gonna if you're not that kind of woman. When you are a wife already, and I don't mean you're married, I mean you are wife material. I should say material. When you're wife material, they will find you. So you don't have to come across them. You don't have to look for them. You don't have to manifest them. When you already are a wife, your wife material, they know. They'll find you. The men, I mean, they are sort of instinctively hunters. They do pursue by nature. I'm not saying it's your responsibility. I'm saying it's your nature to pursue the things that you desire. And so if somebody's wife material, somebody who's husband material is going to get her. So that lady hasn't come across it. Well, I don't think he's in the club. I don't think he's, have you been to the library? Have you been to a nice coffee shop? Just curious. Just curious. Where's she been looking for these men? But she's going to keep working on herself. Like, I'm just going to keep on practicing being selfish. They all say this. They all say, I'm just working on myself. What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. It's gobbledygook filler to act like, well, I just got so much to do here and I'm fine with that. They're not fine with it. This is pretending to be busy, right? That's all that is. And I would say it to their face if I ever get the opportunity.
Left their jobs to get married and have children have been rebuffing critics who call them oppressed. The so-called trad wives say they love it and they like to do everything for their partners, and caring for a husband, children, and home is their calling. But critics say it's crazy and only going to benefit the man in the long run.
Today, we are in an age where a young woman gets cheered and supported for being an OnlyFans worker and attacked for wanting to be a stay-at-home wife. Imagine that in the entire history of humanity, women have never been more free and more independent as today, and yet they are the most salty and bitter individuals they have ever been.
I love serving my family. While that makes many cringe, serve is not a bad word. Everyone serves something or someone. Modernity is so hyper-focused on the self that in saying these things, you are often equated to being a doormat or a slave. The mindset of, if it doesn't serve you, it has no room in your life, is quite prevalent. As Christian women, we should be rejecting this mindset. It is not beneath a woman to joyfully and willingly serve her family. If I'm to be considered a slave, let it be a slave to Christ and the high calling that he has for women.
This can't.
I love her. I love her. And I love, okay, a lot of times with these trad wives, they're baking and they've got, their trad outfit on, and that's fine. You can bake and you can wear a trad outfit. That's totally fine. But that's not all it is, obviously. That lady was in a dress that I can, that I would clean in, and she was doing windows. She was doing the work herself, and it was cleaning. It wasn't something glamorous like baking. I suppose baking would be the glamorous part of housekeeping and serving your family, but actually like doing the windows, you know what I mean? Which is a much more difficult chore around the house than, baking or what have you. But what she said about serving her family, and she's right, women are out to serve themselves. But when you serve your family, how is that not serving yourself? When you serve your husband, when you serve someone you love, forget about, if the women could just forget about man, woman, whatever. When someone you love is ill and you are taking care of them and they are depending on you and they need you, whether it's the flu or it's cancer, there is nothing more important than that. That's so beautiful. We all get sick and we all die. And part of being here is taking care of each other through these things and at the end. And when you love someone, you cater to them, you serve them. Is their mouth dry because of the treatments and everything, and they're not allowed to eat, or they can't eat because of the nausea? So you bring them some ice chips and you see how soothing that is. Now, ladies, imagine that's your husband. Stop looking at him like he's only worth whatever he can do, or he's only worth however much he can work. That's not what it's about. He is a human, he is a person, and you've made a decision to love him. That's part of what love is. It's a decision. You say, okay, I love this person, and I always will, because that's what love is. Love is unconditional, and love is forever. And love is a verb, so you do it. And nothing brings you more joy. You would be like, I don't want anybody else to take care of this person. I want to be the one to do it. I want to be the one to make him his favorite meal. I want to be the one to smile at him when he comes home. I want him to be happy that, his house is clean and organized and all his clothes are clean, and maybe his clothes are laid out for him for the morning and his lunch is packed and there's a note inside, absolutely I would be the one to do that. That's my love, of course. That's not a chore. It doesn't take anything away from me. I would look at it like, I'm so selfish, I want to be the one to do that. When you serve someone you love, that is an honor. That is a joy. And that does not come from placing a ring on your finger. It doesn't just magically occur because you walk down an aisle in a white dress. It happens because you have a heart of service. As she said, some of us serve Christ. And so the idea of service is holy, and it's so important. Now, am I saying to go find a wife in the church? Absolutely, I am not. I can tell you that the lady we just saw cleaning, a lot of women in the modern church nowadays, the modern Christian church, would give her a hard time because they all have jobs. They all have jobs. There's really nothing different about them. Nothing, except they're snooty. Think they're better. But anyways, that lady is fantastic. So I understand they are out there, but they're so few and far between. And they're not going to be on dating sites, and they're not going to be online. You're not going to get into their the DMs of their Instagram because they don't have one. You think that lady has an Instagram? I mean, if she does, it's business, only, and probably her husband manages it. I would be shocked if she did.
It'd be a coincidence. Modern women today love seeing themselves as these strong and independent women, but can't stand traditional wives and resort to calling them out as if they were being forced to be traditional. It's not like these strong, independent boss babes are happy with their lives. They're miserable. Sure, they make money and have a career, but they lack the one thing that truly creates purpose in life, having a family.
Esty, what is a trad wife?
Well, a trad wife is just short for traditional wife, and it is a homemaker, and she cooks, she cleans, she takes care of the home and the children, if there are any, and the online world gave it the term trad wife for short.
What motivated you to pursue this traditional life?
Well,
I'm glad that she's bringing forth trad wives. However, there's nothing traditional about having such tight clothing on your chest and accentuating your chest to that degree, or showing cleavage. So a traditional husband, would not want that to be, center stage. I get it. That's how she is. I don't know. They're real, fake, what have you. But it's probably not a great idea to put them on full display. I understand that she has a channel. It does well. And obviously that makes the views and the likes and all of that go up. But a true traditional woman, traditional wife, wouldn't want that to be the case, because that's just a little too close to, selling yourself based on that. So I know you guys are like, I'd love to have a woman like this. Compared, there is a spectrum of these women. She's much better than a lot of what is out there. However, she's also a caricature, right? So we can, her hair is also very short, and traditional wives would have long hair. Just saying.
I was somewhat raised traditional. My mom was a traditional wife until my parents got divorced. I think I felt the need to fit the mold of the world and go get a degree, find a career. And I did go to college for almost 2 years, and then I dropped out because secretly I always wanted this lifestyle. Of course, you need a husband to have this lifestyle. So when I met my now husband, everything just came into place. And that's really the inspiration behind it. It was a dream.
The thing about modern women is that these women need you to like them for them, but they will like a guy for what he has. They could never deal with their type of love if they were to swap their reality for men's reality. They would absolutely not like it and would demand to have back their shallow existence. So, it's quite a shocker when you see feminists getting triggered about women being trad wives. If you look around society, you will see many extremes. On one side, you will find your regular Karens, feminists, who are strong, independent boss babes who don't need any man.
Meet Nara Smith, a captivating presence on TikTok, known for her elaborate cooking videos showcasing homemade meals for her family, including her husband, model Lucky Blue Smith, and their 2 children. Married since February 2020, Nara, at just 22 years old, has embraced motherhood wholeheartedly, sharing her journey openly on social media. Born in South Africa and raised in Germany, Nara's multilingual background adds depth to her content, which has garnered her a following of millions. Despite originally aspiring to be a marine biologist, Nara's path shifted towards cooking and social media, where she found her niche. She is famous for making food from scratch, such as homemade cereal and bagels, has earned her widespread admiration, despite facing occasional backlash.
On the other side, you will find women who wholeheartedly believe in being traditional, which means they believe in family values, taking care of the house and the kids, and living a contented life without having to worry about receiving money from strangers online.
My favorite anti-trad wife article from this latest batch comes to us courtesy of Vogue and a woman named Monica Ainley. She decided to become a trad wife herself for a week in order to discover the true depths of its horrors.
They just eat and poop and they cry.
Now, she keeps a daily journal documenting her struggles. On day 1, on Monday, we're told that she tries to do laundry, but her kids keep unfolding the laundry that she folded. On Tuesday,
Well, it sounds like it's pretty hard to just start being a trad wife because you clearly have not taught your children manners, right? I wonder if she had a husband actually or not, or she's just trying to do this like solo. But yeah, there's no manners in these children, and you teach your children manners when they are very, very young. 2, 3, 4, even, little things like if they keep dropping something on the ground because they think it's funny for you to pick it up, well, you don't keep picking it up. You leave it there after a while and you say, and I realize it sounds bad, that's a baby. I'm not saying you yell at the baby, but you just, you're not going to be manipulated by the baby. And you say, no, I told you if you drop that one more time, I'm not picking it up this time. And that's it. And you just, little things like be nice, be polite, and they would also see that. What kind of hooligans are you raising that you fold laundry and then they come along and unfold it? What are we dealing with here? Wild animals? So, I am so excited to hear how this woman, we folded laundry so far. Good God.
She makes dinner for her husband, but is so exhausted by the routine that she says that she's not in the mood for intimacy that evening because she's so making dinner very exhausted.
Not in the mood. I'm sorry. It doesn't matter what your mood is. Your mood is irrelevant. You will figure out how to get in the mood. You understand that your brain is in your head, right? You understand that you can control your actions. And I know, women, I know it's so hard, but you can actually control your feelings to a degree. The reason she's not in the mood is she's resentful that she had to do all this. Her attitude is wrong. You have to look at it like you get to do this. Would you rather be somewhere doing some ridiculous thing for a boss, telling yourself that it's meaningful and that they appreciate it and that it matters? Because it doesn't. Well, somebody should tell the women that. Maybe they don't want to be trad wives. Maybe they don't want to be wives at all. Tell them how useless a career is and who it's actually for. It's not for her. It's not going to do you any good. It's not going to, take care of you when you're sick. It's not going It's not going to actually give you meaning and purpose. It's going to leave you empty and alone.
On Wednesday, she tries to make a TikTok video, but her kids keep interrupting. And at dinner, 3 days into this, she says that she feels dead inside. Her world has become tiny. By Thursday, she says that she's drowning her sorrows with Pinot Grigio.
I love peanut butter.
You can't truly experience that life if you live it for 5 days, and all for the express purpose of writing an article about it.
Thank you, Matt. Well, these modern women are not trad wives because everything they talk about in marriage is about themselves and what they want. Nothing about a stable family or a male structure in the house. Crazy how every time they're asked if they'd be with an average man, they all say no. I happen to work with a lot of average men who are construction workers. As someone who's at a higher rank on site as an architect and a young black woman, they always expect I'll completely disregard them or give them an attitude. And when I do the opposite by smiling at them and greeting them and showing basic human kindness, it leaves them in complete disbelief. Average men have been shot down so many times it is quite heartbreaking to witness.
So at least get a girl that listens to you, because trust me, you will grow to love her more than the baddie that annoys the out of you and doesn't give you peace, bro. I'm telling y'all, man. And 9s and 10s, not wife material, ever. Those girls are for the streets, man. They belong to everybody. Like, you need to find yourself a girl in the 6, 7, maybe 8 range at most. Like 9s and 10s, these supermodel chicks, they're not wifeable material, bro.
Because they've never had to build character. When they're very attractive, things have been very easy for them. Even their parents have made life easy for them. There's been no real struggle. And when there's been no struggle, many times no character has been built. They have an automatic sense of entitlement, and that just will not make a wife. You cannot be a wife as a person who thinks that they're owed something. That's not the attitude of a wife, ever. And I'm sorry, but it doesn't change. I think a lot of times, especially, maybe a generation ago, maybe 10 years ago, 20 years ago, men would think, well, she's kind of, this way now, but after we get married and then, she'll settle down and she'll become more domestic, and especially after we have a child, she'll be more motherly. No, those men found out the hard way. It doesn't work like that. You have to already be those things. You're not just going to pull somebody off the street. Like he said, architect, you're not just going to pull somebody off the street, set them in front of like an easel. And I guess that's what they have. It's, I don't know, like blueprints, and be like, look, you're here. There are some blueprints here, Are you an architect now? No, of course not. They weren't an architect when they came in the room. They didn't just become one because they've got the architect things around them. But sometimes I think that's the expectation, that thinking that the woman will rise to the challenge. Well, that's not how we are. Men can rise to the challenge, and when pressure's on, they can push against it and become better. Women don't really work that way. That's why stressful jobs take such a toll on us, where they don't with men. And you can look up the CDC stats on women who work in the healthcare about how many strokes they have, heart attacks, etc. It's way up there, and men don't have that. It's the stress, and we're not built for that kind of stress outside of a home. And I know women are like, I'm bored, my world got so small. Well, this is going to sound really bad, but her brain is small. How is your world small? Your world is supposed to be small. It's only big in your head. You only think you're important to all these people. You know who you're really important to? Those kids that she doesn't pay attention to. And I know she doesn't pay attention to them, because if she paid good attention to them, they wouldn't be unfolding laundry as she's folding it. They'd be singing songs and folding laundry together. You create these type of children. They're not just born and that's how they are because of their DNA. they're that way from watching you. If your small children are obnoxious, women, you might want to look in the mirror, because you are their, biggest example, and you are their biggest teacher. So it's your job to do all that. So I think it's hilarious. It's hilarious for her to be like upset that her kids were doing that. I'm sorry, I'm going to be thinking about that all day. But yeah, the 9s and 10s, there's no character a lot of the time. They haven't had to. They're pretty. All done.
They're just not. Trust me. You're going to be competing for her attention with 99 other people because she loves attention. She loves to be on Instagram. She loves to be exploring her options, etc. Like super, super beautiful women, like they're used to getting that attention. And if they lose it, they start going crazy. Look at Britney Spears right now.
Every woman I meet nowadays says the same stuff. They are models and entrepreneurs who own their own businesses. Years ago, it was a simpler life to entertain women. BC, the internet made everything so much more competitive. Everyone is just showing off their material things, and that's all that seems to matter to the modern woman. That's why the wife mentality went out the window, and the I'm your bad bitch mentality is here to stay. It's so weird. Women who don't want to be wives will also wonder why they aren't married yet. Serving the father of your children, the main breadwinner, and your children is worse than serving your boss, who can and will replace you mercilessly, or your sugar daddy, who can also and will replace you mercilessly. I feel sorry for those people who are so isolated in life that they would fetishize a home-cooked meal and a clean house. The idea that someone cares about you enough to cook and clean, or to bring home a paycheck and share it with you out of love, is so foreign to them that they can't believe it exists. I think the fact they are so outraged by a woman just enjoying her life as a trad wife upsets them is quite telling. They are unhappy with their own life choices and are outraged when anyone else finds a dose of happiness.
That's true. And the other thing is, and I've said this a lot in videos, but I've found it time and time again, women hate when other women are making them look bad. And it's funny to me because why would it make you look bad if one woman's traditional? Why does it anger you so much? Why don't you just go, oh, that's nice, and then, secretly feel sorry for her because she has no life and whatever, but just move on with your life? Why? And of course that's wrong. But with everything she says, like she loves her life and she's got to go and, be a CEO and be a girl boss and all the rest of it. So why does it bother you so much? Why does it bother the women so much if somebody's traditional? I'm not telling any of these girl bosses that they need to quit. I don't think we should make a law against it. So why is it such a problem for me to say the things I'm saying, or for, women to serve their men? What's it to you? Why? It is so telling, because they know that it's the right way to do things. They know, they must know at the end of the day, they're doing it wrong. At the end of the day, they're being selfish. At the end of the day, they're going to end up alone. Why else would they get mad? That's the only reason. They know that traditional women that are raising their children, taking care of them, homeschooling them, teaching them manners, things like that, to respect daddy and to serve their husband, and the husband's happy and loves her. They're jealous of that. They're jealous of it, and they know it's better. Otherwise, they wouldn't get mad. If I ever get the chance to say that to one of these women, I will.
Misery loves company. Women who lie to themselves and everyone else will stay alone and try to make everyone else as miserable as they are, unless they can change the trend of their lives by the realization that they might be wrong. Women can choose to be less stressed and focus on being a housewife who is involved in building the next generation, or can be creative on how to build the home, or she has to hit their targets at work and work for the rest of their life till she dies. It's what men are doing. Why take away that decision and shame them? It all comes down to their inability to ever be happy, content, satisfied, or grateful. Take one to a restaurant. They can't make simple food choices off a menu. let alone major life choices like deciding to be a traditional mom or career woman. No matter what they order at the restaurant, they like what you have better. So, of course, they see that women who choose differently. They are truly insufferable creatures. The feminist disdain comes from the thought of inevitably having to compete with these women and the value they bring to a relationship or marriage if the traditional wife trend catches on.
You know what? That is an excellent point, Man Reacts. That's right. That is right. They know they have to compete with women, frankly, even though I'm older, with women like me, right? When I see a woman, they know they have to compete with the traditional minded women, with the conservative minded women. I'm not talking about politically conservative, because a lot of those women all have jobs and they're boss babes and everything. They're not really conservative, like actual conservative old values, not the man getting on one knee and serving her and all the rest of it, not that baloney, actually serving your man. They know they have to compete with that, and they, at the end of the day, they also know which one men prefer. That's so funny. That's true. That's true. And that does make them mad, boy. That makes them mad. They know which one the men prefer. But like, fine. Don't you wait a minute. Wait a minute, women. Didn't you say I don't need no man? So what does it matter what men prefer? And wouldn't feminists say, hey, those are just controlling men? And those are just men who want a woman who can't think for herself. These are all things I've heard. So why do you want those men anyway? Like these women, they just confess everything through their actions, and it's again, they should be embarrassed. They should just be embarrassed. It's sad.
I've come to the conclusion that this whole traditional wife controversy is only an American problem. So basically, it's a cultural issue, because I don't see people of other cultures arguing that being a traditional wife is bad. In fact, it's still a normal thing that the rest of us don't even need to think about. From a psychological perspective, anyone who has a problem with traditional wives should reflect on how much or how little their mother was a part of their life growing up, and then see how that affected them in their current state.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's definitely important to look back on your own parents and see, well, do you resent however you were raised? Do you think it should be different? I know I've looked back at, being in childcare for some of it when I was younger and absolutely hating that. I've looked back on, moving all over the place for my dad's career. And I can look back and be like, oh, those are some things that probably weren't the best. And then there's been other things that I'm like, oh, now that was a home run. And I don't know if everybody analyzes it to that degree, but you absolutely should. I think a lot of these women that want to go out and be girl bosses, they think of themselves. They don't think about ever having children or what that would be like for their children while they're off being girl bosses. I don't think they're thinking about that. I guess they don't think about back to when they were a kid, and if they were left alone or they were, raised by somebody else. Maybe they were raised by a grandparent or something, so they never had to be in childcare or anything like that. It's very interesting what he's saying about looking back to how you were raised. I know a lot of us had some difficult mothers. So that's definitely going to play into it. But wouldn't you want to be better than that? Wouldn't you want to say, okay, well, this is what my mom did or what my dad did, and so I'd like to do it better. But I know so often that's not what happens. People just continue the cycle. Single mom begets single mom begets single mom. Abusive drunk begets abusive drunk begets abusive drunk. It's insane. If only we could really look back and learn. Well, actually, if we could just look at ourselves. And I think as women, when you are allergic to accountability and you don't understand that actions have consequences, you're really not going to be taking hard looks at yourself. You're not going to be taking an honest look at yourself and saying, yeah, this is really bad about me. This needs to change, et cetera, et cetera. It really is not a problem. We all grow. I don't know. Humility. Humility is underrated.
Was it a good outcome or a bad outcome to have more or less guidance and love? What did their lives and thoughts develop into?
Right.
It's the same argument for dads in the home. Having good,
Right.
strong, traditional, well-rounded, attentive, and loving parents is the key to the first step of leading a successful life.
Yes.
This is part of what happens in the age of social media, where over half the world's population is online on all kinds of devices and platforms, all voicing their individual opinions on every single topic. Billions of opinions and variations of all those opinions. The comments are so crazy, it's just crazy. Traditional wives come from traditional households, where they are raised to be wives and mothers, where you have both parents and a healthy relationship with their fathers. It's not a trend you can throw on like new makeup, whether you are or you aren't. The real traditional wives are too busy to make TikTok videos. Traditional wives don't need the constant attention of strange
Yes.
men online from all over the world to make them
Yes.
feel validated over social media.
Yes.
This is because
Exactly. That's part of my deal with Esty. Like, okay, all right, you want to be a traditional wife, then be a traditional wife. It's not a TikTok thing. Like you wouldn't want to do that. You wouldn't want that attention. You would be uncomfortable with it. It would feel odd. I know a little something about this now, having this YouTube channel and having it grow the way it is. I can see how women could get their heads completely gigantic from compliments and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It would be like giving them poison. Thankfully, I received like an inoculation to that with the way my parents were. So it was humble, humble, humble. Don't get a big head. You're not special. You're not unique. You know, anything like that. Nobody owes you anything, et cetera, et cetera. Now, they may have gone a little bit the other way to where I feel like sometimes, is it okay if I exist? Are you sure? But now that I know everything that's out there and I understand the nature of men and women, I say it that way because it makes YouTube less cranky. I understand that having a big head, being receptive to compliments and flattery is a horrible thing for a woman. It's horrible. You don't want that. And again, social media and the comments and the likes and all the rest of it, this absolutely has turned women into monsters. And they see luxury, expensive things, travel, lifestyles, whatever, and they need it, just like the garden, just like the forbidden fruit. It's like, that's not good for you or any of mankind, but she wanted it. And so she took it, and then the fall happened. And with women now, it seems very similar. They want this, they want this, they want this. It's never enough. It's never enough. It's never enough. And look where we are. They wanted careers. They wanted jobs because they wanted to be important. They wanted to be financially independent. So they did. Well, now everybody gets paid half. And now they don't want to depend on a man for everything. So women are thinking, I'm going to, grow up, go to college, get a career, and I'm going to get an apartment. I'm going to get a house. Well, now everybody needs a house instead of a man and a woman having a house together, an apartment together. A man's got a house, a woman's got a house. So now housing is ridiculously expensive. So it didn't make anybody's lives better. And I would like to ask you guys, he said this is an American problem. I'm wondering if you guys in the West, in the UK, Germany, Spain, Norway, Russia, we've got people on this channel that are from so many different places. So I would like to know, are the women where you are the modern women where you are they nasty when they think of the idea of a traditional woman? Or is it like, oh, sure, no, that's fine. That's what we usually do. Like, what is it? Because I don't know. I think it's more of a problem in the West, but I think it's spreading because there's fewer and fewer places for the passport bros. So I'd love to hear from you guys to know what's the attitude like for the, towards the traditional wives. Are there any? You're probably like, I haven't seen any. No unicorns here. By the way, let's just take this moment to ask you to like the video. My little doggy Lola is distracting me now. And whenever she distracts me, it reminds me to ask you, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and share this with anybody you think needs to see it, needs to learn this red pill stuff. Especially maybe there's a woman in your life, a daughter, sister, whatever, that you'd like to share this information with. Might be helpful. Because God knows the feminists, what they're pushing is not helpful. It's not good. It's not good for women at the end of the day. Like this whole channel could just be a pro-woman channel because this is not good for women. But they're just like, no, I know what I'm doing. Like a 5-year-old kid. Like, no. They remind me of.
Because traditional wives get that validation from their husbands and their children. And it goes both ways. Men have to learn their wives need money to run the family, food, clothing, and other household needs for everyone. Guys, as I've said before, we need to remodel society because the dynamics in place at this point in time aren't working. We need to go with our own natures and be happy with who we are. The men being the breadwinners who respect and love their wives for keeping the children happy, and the wives for being a partner for life.
Well, we don't just keep the children happy. Just remember that. Children are not always going to be happy. Sometimes they're going to be uncomfortable. Sometimes they don't want to have broccoli. Well, that's what we're having, Sometimes they're not always going to be happy. Maybe he said that for, time's sake. You're going to have to instruct your children. But when you start from the beginning, it's not difficult. They don't look at it like you're abusing them. They don't at all. They would respect you. When you start it out right, it's fine.
And someone that the man can depend on for intimacy, traveling, adventure, food, and raising a family. It can't work where the roles are reversed from a biological and physiological standpoint. We're just not built that way. You can't expect women to win wars, fight bears, and kill. You can't expect men to reproduce naturally.
Bears. Oh, but the bears are fine. You don't have to fight them. Oh my God, I almost choked. That was so funny.
Nature made men and women differently for different purposes. You can't deny that. Thanks for watching Man Reacts. Show us your love and support by liking this video, sharing it with your friends, and subscribing to the channel.
Man Reacts. You about made me choke. That was so funny. Fight the bears. I don't have to fight the bears. Bears are safer than men. It's so funny. Oh my God. I know you guys aren't going to let that go because they literally chose bears over you. It's insane. I made a video of it, but I can't get over it either. It's just, they made fools of themselves and they showed who they are. Once again, they will always tell you who they are. When they tell you who they are, believe them because they don't want to be wives. So I guess they're not going to be. They're not wife material. So thank you guys. I appreciate it. This was fun. That was a little bit different. The traditional wife angle. Definitely had to cover that because that's kind of what I harp on a lot around here. And I'm glad he called out, well, didn't call out, but, said that real traditional wives, real conservative wives, I'm thinking of you, Glenn Crossing. Conservative wives are not on TikTok. They're not because they don't want that attention. They're not doing that. That's time away from their family and their husbands, and it's vanity at the end of the day. It's vanity and it's pride, and that has no place for a wife in her family. It's just not, and it wouldn't be setting a good example for the children. You wouldn't want men's eyes looking at you because, you know, that's for your husband and your husband only. And you would guard that and protect that as a wife. So maybe we'll wake up one or two. And I know I can't turn everything around. I know we're not turning the whole thing around. But if I can wake up one or two women, if I can help you guys to understand that you're worth it, and it's better to be alone and protect your peace if you can't find a true wife, and that she should be wife material before you ever think about marrying her. And marrying has nothing to do with paper or the government. It just doesn't have to be. It never did. This is a brand new invention made up by the state. So one has to wonder why. That's a whole different topic. Okay. I love you guys. I hope that today, Saturday, that's right, that you have fed your souls, that you are protecting your peace. And I'm going to see you guys on the next one. Take care. Bye.